about swimming to Rottnest. You know, it's not just on the day, but it's the journey leading up to all the days of training, the people that are by your side throughout that whole process, and you know, when your toes touch down on the other side, it's a really special feeling. So, you know, for me, there's so many aspects to the swim, but they're all just phenomenal, and it's like these guys say, it keeps you coming back and doing it more and more every year and every year.
Alright, I'd like to turn myself off.
Alrighty, that's great advice and insights from everyone there. So, first question, this is the one that's had the most thumbs up. So we'll dive straight into this. I believe Andy put this up himself. So he's probably got a bit of preparation for it, but we will go to Josie first. If you were given a first time Rottnest swim, only one piece of advice, what would it be? So to say that in English, if you were going to give a first time Rottnest swimmer one piece of advice, what would it be?
Enjoy it. The actual day, just enjoy it. You've done all the work, as Andy said before, it's the lead up, and on the day, just trust that you've done everything that you can, because on the photo day, there's nothing else you can really do. But just enjoy it, and you can only control what you can control. You can't control the weather, you can't really control anything else apart from your own mind and body. So trust the process and trust yourself, I would say, yeah.
Awesome.
I would say really to believe in yourself, and no matter how you feel, how your nerves playing up on the day, like I said, the weather, nothing condensed in a way of your mind. You've got to just be in your own mind, talk to yourself, and get your own way through. Don't ever have doubt in your ability, because you would have done the job of miracles. You can do it, just keep those arms to you.
I would just say save at the moment, you know, whether you're happy or angry during the swim, on the start line, if you're excited or nervous, just save at the moment, because I look back at a lot of one races and just really miss those feelings, because they're the moments that you really treasure, those emotional moments, whether they're good or bad. So I'd say, yeah, just save at the moment.
I don't know if it's a blessing or curse to go fourth, because Josie stole the answer I was going to get. But yeah, I mean, I think if I was to give one piece of advice for newcomers to the Rottnest Channel Swim, or the first timers, aside from enjoying the process, go in as ready as you can be. Go in as ready as you can be. So you know, you can control the weather, you can control what's going to happen out there in the water, but you can control everything else. You can be as prepared and as ready as possible. And what that means is you've done all the training up to now. You know, you can't change that. But what you can do is figure out your plan for the day. What are you going to do? Where are you going to meet the skipper and the kayak? Are you going to be sitting on the south of the start or on the north of the start? What's your feet plan look like? What time do you need to be down there at the beach? What I try to do is just plan everything out and put it into a document with a timeline of where I want to be at certain places. So, you know, if your wave is 6 a.m, I'm going to be down the beach at, let's say, 4:45, so I've got just over an hour to get ready. And I'm writing this all down. I'm an accountant, so I'm writing this out in a spreadsheet and just, you know, list everything out, all the feeds that are going to happen on the day, and it just means it's on paper and I can talk it through with my team so that everyone's on the same page. We're not figuring things out for the first time when we're out there in the water, because we've had those discussions, we know what the plan is, and it means that you can turn up and just focus on executing your swim. You don't have to worry about everything else that's going on. Everyone knows their roles and responsibilities. You get out there and you can just get out and swim.
Awesome. Yeah, it's something that we talk about a lot on the coaching side of things, is just making sure that you enjoy the process. So it's very good to hear all four of you guys kind of mention that, and what Andy has said about making sure you can control what you can control is a post that I do every year, so that's great to hear. Now, another question, how do you switch off from thinking about the finish time and just enjoy the experience? Josie?
One feet at a time, I would say. So, like Anna said before, you're going to have it all, should have it, good advice to have it all spread out, written down as well, because your job as a swimmer is just to swim and enjoy it. Your crew, your kayakers, your part, their job is to deal with whatever else is going on around. That's how you're going to enjoy it, as well as your main goal is to just get from A to B. Anything on top of that, it's kind of a bonus. And I would say the one thing that I kind of do is at the start, the sun rising, when you meet up with your crew and your skipper and your boat at the Lewin, and it's kind of just like that grounding to take a moment, keep swimming, don't stop swimming, but just take a moment to kind of enjoy your crew cheering for you for the first time, seeing the sunrise, and it's just kind of, it grounds the moment and also gets you ready. It's kind of doing that. I'm doing this now, and the switch on for me.
I'm very clearly not even come close to being in the league of these three, but when I did my first, and actually all my swims, I don't focus on the time, I focus on just absolutely trying my best, and then focusing on getting there. I don't ask I've got a fantastic team, and they motivate me and just, they give me a lot of encouragement. I don't ever want to know, am I going to make whatever time or whatever, because that's not, I for the enjoyment and also obviously try my absolute best, but I'm not, in the league of breaking major records or anything, so I'm really just focus on that.
I think the most important thing is just to acknowledge that there's so much with open water that you can't control. So in 2023, my time was 3 hours 57. Last year it would have been probably 50 minutes over that. And I put in the same amount of effort, same amount of training, and it was purely things beyond my control, which led to me being nearly, or would have nearly been an hour slower. In saying that, I think the best way to remind yourself, or how to handle this rather, is just to always just come back to the moment and just be present. What in this moment right here, right now, can I do to control the process, to influence it, to get that time, to get that time as low as possible.
What was the exact question?
The exact question. How do you switch off from thinking about your finish time and enjoying the experience? Should be able to Google something with their head.
It's an interesting one. I've been in that position where I've been chasing times and I've been chasing records, and it's sometimes gone well, and it's sometimes you encounter things that you didn't expect to. And when that happens, it can be very tough. I've been out in the middle of swims and my boat's broken down. I've swum into unforecasted storms. I've seen ash on but
he was going to talk about sharks.
But like the guys are saying, there's things that you can't control. Whether you can't control some of these unforeseen circumstances and unforecasted storms, but you can control how you respond to them. You can control how you respond to them. So if something happens out there, or if you're not making the progress that you thought you were hoping for, yes, it's tough in the moment, and I don't think you can go by without acknowledging it. But you ultimately get to choose how you respond to it. And yeah, it can be quite scary, but if you find what works for you, how to stay calm in those moments. For me, I try to take some deep breaths and relax. I'll maybe flip onto my back if things are really bad, and I'll just look up at the sky. That helps me to relax. I'll look at the team that's up there on the boat and that they're in this with me, I'm not out there on my own. I'll think about my why, of why I'm actually doing this, who am I swimming for, what's the purpose behind it, am I raising money for mental health, or am I doing this for something, for my own goals, or for dedicating this to my family or whatnot. And that tends to typically help ground me in those challenging moments where you feel stressed, where you feel overwhelmed, and things aren't quite going to plan. And, you can only control what you can control. So if you have that toolbox of little tips and tricks that you can go to when those moments arise, if they arise, then you're more equipped for the swim, and you're more likely to be able to tackle any curveball that comes your way.
Yeah, amazing guys. Great to hear all of that. So what we're going to talk about now is keeping yourself warm in the water. Now, I think a lot of people understand that when you're doing these swims and it can be a rough day, keeping yourself warm in the water can be one of the most challenging things, and a lot of people do get pulled out due to hypothermia and being too cold in the water. So what are your strategies for keeping yourselves warm in the water? Not just for Rottnest, but for some of the colder swims that you guys have all done as well, that might be applicable to people.
In all honesty, this is something I personally don't really struggle with. I'm not very hot-blooded person, I would say. But I think I do those little things that just in case. So ocean grease is the main thing that I use, and I think a few of us use it. And then I always have a hot feed on the boat, just in case as well. So a thermos with a cup of riding, so sometimes it's Milo or plain hot water and also a tea option. So I always do have those 3 options on the boat. I'm very fortunate that I've never had to use them before. I probably will one day come with the swims I've got planned coming up, but yeah, I think ocean grease and having hot feeds as an option. Likewise.
My preparation for cold swims advice guides or cold showers to just get used to feeling cold. I also don't suffer from hypothermia, but a nice good layer that keeps me warm. I'm well over for long distance swimming, but warming the foods is an absolute must. And just even it's not very, very cold, having room temperature rather than nice and cold, because otherwise I'm not going to adjust to processing that cold feed. But the colder ones are definitely warm food.
Well, I've got a nice big layer of natural insulation, so I've never really had any issues with this. If you're planning to do major long distance swims that are really cold water, so like 14, 13 degrees type thing, see a nutritionist. I think to be able to put on that extra couple of kilos in the exact way that you need it, that would be the biggest piece of advice that I have.
You can split this into 2 parts. You have the preventative measures that you do in training, so you might want to consider putting on weight, you do your ice baths, your cold water acclimatization. But we're a week out from Rottnest, so that's probably a bit of stuff that we can't really focus on now. But on the day, there's certainly some tips and tricks that you can employ. Josie covered one with ocean grease, putting that on. It's basically a mixture of Vaseline and lanolin, and you put that on the areas where you're chafing, but over your major organs. That's the word I was looking for. Over your major organs.
It's alright, you're an accountant, it's alright.
Whether it's scientifically good or not, I'm not sure, but even the sort of the placebo effect or the mindset shift, if you think it's going to help, it probably is going to help. Heating your feeds is something I would do in a swim, even for Rottnest, where it's, even if it's 30 degrees out there, I would never chill the drinks because it will just lower your core temperature. So leaving it at room temperature, or for me, when I do my cold swims, I've done a few cold swims in the past. I'll split it 50-50 with my feet, so 200 mils, I go 100 mils boiling, 100 mils room temperature. This is for swims like Ireland to Scotland, which is one that I did that was 13 degrees, so you might not need that out here, but just keep that in mind that when you take these drinks, it gives you a big sort of, it heats up your core, but it's also something mentally to look forward to as well. There's a few sort of things you can do as safety nets. You can make your feeds more frequent. So usually I do it for 20 minutes, but I sometimes bring it down to 15 if I'm getting cold, just to get more hot water and hot feeds into the system. Sometimes up the sugar content in the drinks, just to get more sugar into the system. Because when your body's under that much duress, it's burning a lot of energy to stay warm. So it's a bit of a, it's not a long-term strategy. You're going to hurt towards the end of it because your blood sugar is going to be spiking. But if it gets you through that moment, maybe just for a few feeds, putting extra sugar into your drink, then that can certainly help you through those rough patches. And then I think there's a psychological element to cold water. I asked my team never to use the C word, cold, fresh, or anything like that. I know it sounds a bit silly, but even just minor tweaks with your terminology can help. So like instead of jellyfish stings, jellyfish kiss. I try not to think of anything too negative because when you're tired and you're out there for hours and hours, these tiny little things make a difference. They all the 1%ers and so if you can stack them in your favour, it gives you a better chance of success.
Turn myself off.
Awesome, guys, that was great. Alright, just want to remind everyone that we are using the app today, and if you do want questions answered, we do have 21 questions in. We will probably not have enough time to get through all 21 in this session, so if there is a question on there that you want answered, please give it a big thumbs up, because the higher it is up on this board, the easier that I will read it. I'm going with a diplomatic approach today. Okay, so next on the list, we are going with, what are you guys thinking about during your swims? Are you counting, singing to yourself, etc.? Josie, what is your favourite song to sing while going in the water?
This is probably one of the main things that surprised me on my first solo. I thought I would get bored, I would start singing, I would think of some great new invention, but no. I honestly think about my stroke, my training, why I'm doing it, the full process. It seems like it's a long way to just think about kind of yourself in the race, but it's not. If my mind's still starting to switch off, that's where I know that I'm starting to kind of lose it a little bit, I would say, in a loose term. So I do think about the process and I stroke the whole way. I have little messages on my feeding bottles that kind of keep me going, keep me thinking, but I mix them up. So I mix up the messages or kind of what I've written on them so that I keep my mind ticking over something different every time.
Josie, have you got an example of one of those? Is it like a good luck message or is it a riddle that you have to solve?
It's, for the Rottnest swim, I have just like little sayings. So one of the main ones are DG, so resilience, determination, grit. So that's kind of the 3 words always keep me going. In the longest swims that I've done, it's messages from home. So kind of they're relayed on the whiteboard, just little snippets from people that I've trained with or family. So it just kind of gives you that kind of out perspective, just to keep going. Yeah.
The majority of the time I'm thinking of family, what's going on in life. I'm obviously pushing as hard as I possibly can. But music, the first one that comes to mind, I haven't thought of this before, is Titanium. I was still so that's and as soon as I do focus very hard on my technique, and then if I start feeling a bit achy, then I focus on that, try and think of something you saw that sweat take my mind where it really is?
In all honesty, the last ultramarathon I did, I was singing All Too Well by Taylor Swift to myself for a good chunk of that race. Yeah, I've gone to some weird places in my mind during races. No, I just try and just stay in that moment of, again, what can I do right here, right now? So 90% of that is just thinking about my technique. What are those little changes in my stroke? You know, can I change the angle that my hand enters at by just a couple of degrees to just get the most out of it? I also just like just playing like a beat or something like that in my head from a song, because I find that just keeps you ticking over. During the later stages of the races, I just, personally, I think that you need something just to almost act as an adrenaline shot to get you through that last 5Ks. And that can be, you know, a person, a quote, you know, anything like that, just to, yeah, get the adrenaline going and keep going.
Yeah, I don't really think of anything, to be honest. There's not much going on up there, but no, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get into that state of flow as quickly as possible. I'm trying to let my mind switch off, which is maybe a little bit different to you guys. You know, for me, thinking takes energy, so I don't really want to think about anything, and I'll just let whatever pops into my head pop into my head. So it could be, you know, what's for dinner, how long's the chip shop open for, can I get there, can I get back there in time, you know? And you know, you just let your body do the work, and it's just all automatic. You've done the training, you've done all the repetitions and all the on strokes, so I just let it kind of pan out as it's meant to. There will be times where you're taken out of that state of flow. You know, if the conditions get rough and you get thrown around, or if you've been sick, or if you start with fatigue and you can feel your body getting tired or getting sore, and then you know that's when these important thoughts come into play. You know, they say marathon swimming is 20% physical, 80% mental. So having these tools in your arsenal of what to think about when you are getting tired, when things are tough, when things maybe go wrong, they're all going to make a difference. And you know, I think these guys all touch on some really great ones. You know, having your positive affirmations, or thinking of family, thinking about your why, motivational quotes, encouraging music, like they're all great tools that you can call on when times are tough, and they'll help you to keep pushing on when you do want to. They'll help you overcome some of these hurdles that you might encounter out there before.
Nice. Well, guys, that was great. Now, I think we'd all like to go into every single event that we do completely injury-free, no niggles, no nothing. That would be ideal, right? But sadly, a lot of the time, that's not the case. So the next question we have for that is, if you had any injuries leading up to the swim, how do you manage them? Josie, you have a cracker of a story on this, so if you'd like to go on to that, that'd be great.
I did ask permission to do this before. A couple of years ago, I think it was 2021, I got a kick to the breaststroke kick to the rib 3 days out of Rotto, which a week after Rotto we discovered was a hairline fracture. So it happened, and all of a sudden my mind took over, and I thought, I don't know, we did a lot of mental training for that, because when you're going through taping, everything's also heightened. So every little niggle can turn into a massive injury if you let your mind think that. So my mind was weighing up whether it was something quite serious or whether it was just like a little niggle. We decided to go down the route that it was just a little niggle. The rest of my body was feeling good. I'm fine. Got down to race day, started the race, adrenaline took over my body. I did not feel it once. Had what I thought was a pretty decent swim.
It was pretty good, but you couldn't get one of your arms out of the water, so it was a choppy day and you kept punching. But
Yeah, 10-15 minutes after the swim, it hit me, and I was in excruciating pain. Went for scans a couple of days after, and I turned into a complete fracture on one of my ribs. So I think advice as not a swimmer, I would say make sure that you've kind of managed it, and if someone tells you not to swim, my advice would be to swim. But personally, I know that I wouldn't do that. And I think we're being honest here, so I would personally keep pushing through, but that's within reason. I had a really good team around me, we did a lot of rehab afterwards. Hindsight, probably shouldn't have swum, because there was a lot of rehab after, but yeah, it's kind of now something that I go back to if I have a little niggle during a swim. I just think, well, it's not a broken rib, you can push through it. But I would definitely make sure that you're getting rehab before and after, you're getting those physio appointments, you're getting your massages, you're looking after your body, especially this week leading in. That's what the week before is: extra rest, extra sleep, make sure you're drinking lots of water and nutrition to kind of manage it and lessen any of those niggles. Yeah.
I'm going to cut in because I was pretty involved with that little story there, so I have a bit of a thing to say. When Josie came to me with this, my first reaction was, oh, that sounds really fun. I've been kicking the ribs before for breaststroke and it's been great. But as my job as a support person and the S&C role that I had, we had to make a couple of decisions, and one of them was, okay, how much does this swim mean to you? In Josie's case, one of the favourites going into it, a lot. How much time did we have post-event? So if it was serious, what are we going to do with it? We had a fair bit of time, we had nothing planned, it was the end of season, so we had a little bit of wiggle room there. And then it was like, okay, what can we do in the next 3 hours, 10 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, day before, hours before the swim, to get her in the best physical condition possible, and convince Josie mentally that she was going to be okay, and put a lot of positive things in place for her so she could take that confidence away. And I think we managed to do that really well. And Josie really bought into that whole process as soon as we kind of brought that to her, and to her credit, did have an excellent swim considering everything. So that's my little 2 cents on that.
My take on that is making sure that you have that great team of physio and then go for the massages. Stick to it, don't think, oh, I'm feeling okay, just keep going. That's absolutely vital. But where I have thankfully haven't turned up with any physical injuries, but mentally it can be one hell of a strain. And one swimmer, I really did not want to do it, but thankfully had my hand in the second night at my home, and she just said, we don't do lessons, get into your bathers. And so I did, and all the way down I wasn't feeling well at all. All the way down the West Coast Highway I was not feeling great, and she just said, just so you know, we don't do DLFC, so you're just going to get in that little bit swim. And I did, and I finished. I don't know how, but it's all there.
Max, before you go, I'm just going to give you this mic because I just noticed that one's dropped out. So give me 1 second to unstick this bad boy.
Ryan, just swap the full microphones over here.
That would have been so much smarter.
That's why you're here.
I think the most important thing is to evaluate the risks and or the costs and the benefits of it. You've got to blatantly ask yourself, is it worth it? Could this minor injury escalate into a career-ending injury that I'm going to have to live with even in my days after a swimmer? And once you do that, you get a pretty good gauge, but the most important thing is that it has to be your decision. So for me, I've always placed a lot of emphasis of, if I'm going to make a decision that's a bad decision, I want it to be me. I don't want it to be my coach. I don't want it to be my parents. I don't want it to be physios or anything like that, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that's got to live with the consequences.
I can put this one back. Just the presenters, don't press the hot button. I can do that.
I'm not going to make it, but pressing the off button on the microphone phones for the live stream. It was a bad time for everybody, so
You did look specifically at that.
we are back.
I think the guys have all raised really valid points. Max, what you said there is, I think, ultimately it's your responsibility to make that decision. Susan, you mentioned the support team. A Rotto solo is never a solo, it's a team effort. And that's not just the people out there on the water, it's the people that have helped you on that journey day in, day out. Your coach, the physio, the sports chiropractor, the masseuse, all these people. And what Josie was saying is you put yourself in the best possible place. If you are going to go ahead and swim, yes, you might be on the back foot a little bit with injury, but you put yourself in the best possible place before you rock up to that start line. I've had injuries before, big swims before, and mentally it's very, very daunting. Something that I think is equally impactful is if you get ill before a swim. And I'm sure many people here have got ill before their major competition of the year. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks. One of the ones that I remember being a very tough moment for me, I was in Los Angeles getting ready to swim a 32-kilometer channel called Catalina. And I was absolutely wiped. I was absolutely wiped, jet-lagged, really feeling run down both physically and mentally. I slept for, I think, 18 hours one night. And I just didn't want to be there. I just didn't want to be there before the swim. I've never had that happen to me in my life. I've never been leading up to a swim and been in such a low position, a low place that I didn't want to do. And it was scary, you do all the hard work in the pool, you train for the distance, train for swimming at night, train for tough conditions. But you can't train for what you feel in those moments. And something like that, something like illness or unexpected injury, it's almost something that you have to experience to really know how you're going to react or respond to it. And I was very fortunate in that on the day my family had come out from Scotland to come and watch on the boat, and I remember telling my dad how scared I felt. And I told him I'm absolutely petrified. I've never been in this position. I've never felt so drained before a swim before, and I've got to do 32 kilometres. Like, I don't know how I'm going to go. And he just said something very simple to me, but it stuck. And it was, you might not feel your best, but you can always just give your best. You might not feel your best, but you can always give it your best. And I remember just sitting on that, and almost within an instant, my mindset changed. I was like, yeah, I'm feeling crap, but I'm just going to give this whatever I have in the tank. I'm going to give this my best. And if that's good enough to get across, great. If not, I've given everything I can. And I think that's a great mindset to go into any of these swims with. You can't control things like illness sometimes, or injuries, or what happens out there, but you can control your effort. And if you give in, if you go out there and give your best, you can't ask for that.
Very good, very good. Now, a question that has shot up the ladder here is all about what you're putting in your bodies this week. So, what food and drink do you usually have the week leading into a swim? Is there anything that you avoid? Is there anything that you will avoid?
I would say the most important for me is the water intake that I put into my body, and that's not just plain water, it's electrolytes. So if you're just drinking plain water, it gets flushed out quicker and nothing's really absorbed. So I would say stick to the electrolytes and the hydrolytes that you use for training and have them throughout the week. From a food perspective, I can just eat whatever this week, within reason. I would say eat more, maybe not whatever, but more. It's another great thing about Roto Week is you can kind of put more into your body. Not whatever, I shouldn't have said that. But protein, carbohydrates, it's whatever works for your body. Personally, my body's a bit different. I have more of a protein diet as opposed to carbohydrate diet. So yeah, just kind of upping everything that you have slightly. Avoid. I don't know that, I don't really.
You don't avoid anything, especially the night before.
Ryan is alone too. Previous years, I would go on a sober couple of months, and then I struggled with a lot of kind of anxiety before races. And one coach said to me, "Just try gin and tonic the night before." So now I have a glass of wine or a gin and tonic the night before a race. I would only recommend it if you've done it before, but just one.
It's these kind of tips that everyone came here for.
Best to back here. I think the most important for me is not to change anything. Don't try out any new foods. Just up maybe the amount you have, but don't mess around with especially listening to other people. Try this, it's really good. Just stick to your plan and get your hydration really there. I think that's absolutely.
The biggest thing that I always find is with me, if I'm getting enough of the good stuff, so things like carbs, proteins, enough fruit and veg, then there won't be a lot of room in my diet for bad stuff. So things that are heavy in sugar, things that are really, really processed. So for me, I just, the week or two leading into a major race, just try and be healthy, do those things that you're supposed to do, but don't always want them. First, making those simple changes. So when you need a snack, for me, I always go for something simple like rolled oats instead of going for like a small bar of chocolate. Just making those small changes, or a piece of fruit instead of something with sugar that's highly processed. Just those really, really basic things that can make a big difference.
Yeah, nutrition's a bit of an interesting one, and Susan raised a good point. Everyone's kind of got their own approach to things, and it's always good to get people's advice and hear what people do, but it's up to you to decide what works best for you. With myself, I do a bit of a carb load and it starts about 5 days out from the actual swim. And I'll eat a lot of white pasta, white bread, those kind of meals to top up the glycogen stores in my body. So getting the carbs in, making sure that you're hydrated as well. And then towards the end of the week, just before race day, I'll start loading up on electrolytes as well, 24 hours leading up to the swim. Just make sure that the body's got a lot in the system, your sodium, magnesium, these kind of things, because they're going to help retain liquids in your feeds when it comes to actual race day. So I find that helps. You're upping quantities, but you're not eating to the point of sickness. That's something that I think people get wrong with carb loading. It's not like the night before stuffing your face with bowls and bowls of pasta. It's a whole. It's topping up the body in the days leading up to it. So it's not all just this one big whack. In terms of foods to avoid, I try to avoid greasy foods, so there's no barbecues in the days leading up. You're going to be putting your body through a lot of duress, and your gut's going to be taking a pounding on the day with all the feeds. So how I tend to see it, the carb load is setting you up for the first half of the swim, and then what you feed on during the swim sets you up to take you home for the second half.
Amazing, guys. That's a really difficult question to answer as well, because nutrition is so individualised. Now, we've had a few questions around sun protection here, so we'll just dive into that. What is the best sun protection that you guys have had? Are you guys loading up on zinc all over your body, or is it just a little bit of salt and salt going your way?
Obviously, the zinc, like a heavy duty surface zinc on my face, and then I just use a water resistant sports normal sunscreen on the rest of my body. But definitely the zinc on my face. Yeah.
I'm going to now is surf nut. It's a zinc with a K and a K in it. It's terrible to get off afterwards, but it's absolutely fantastic. I do not have one single nerve on since I've started using that. And the key with that one is not to put on any other kind of cream before, just the surf nut to surface.
From personal experience, I hate putting sunscreen on my face. I just, really don't like, because I find I'll knock my goggles just slightly, then I'll get sunscreen, then, I feel like my goggles will leak, so it's just something that I try and avoid. So one of the big things I really try and do is, as soon as I'm done with my race, have on a long sleeve shirt on, get in the shade, don't be stupid, I guess.
I think sunscreen is one that you should use what you're used to using. What you've used for training or like the 10 kilometre qualifier or any open water events. I don't tend to find as much, I don't specifically go for one thing over another, just as long as it's got a good 50 plus or is water resistance. For anyone that is doing crazy long swims in really harsh suns, I have used something that is phenomenal, but it doesn't come off. And you look like Casper the Friendly Ghost. It's called Desitin. And
good, because that was the word in here that I couldn't read. Desitin plus zinc, someone asked about, so I just left that.
Desitin, and it's essentially an nappy rash ointment for kids, and it's got zinc in it. You put it on, and it's really thick. You keep yourself up in it. And myself, I was doing some swims out in Hawaii where the sun is brutal, so we put that on, and we were under the sun for over 10 hours each day sometimes, and none of us got burnt. So, it's long lasting, it's very durable, and good for in the sun. So if you don't mind looking like a ghost, that's the real heavy duty stuff.
Awesome, guys. Now, with all your experience, people may think that you guys don't get nervous before big swims anymore, but I know for a fact that you probably all do still get pretty nervous before. So what is your ways of dealing with nerves on the day of the swim?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think, like I said previously, I really struggled with nerves. The last couple of years kind of gotten a lot better, and that's really just having that self-belief and enjoyment. I enjoy the whole process, and that's coming from starting now, the week leading up. It's to just think, like people said, you've done all the work. There's nothing really you can change that's going to affect anything majorly now. Little nerves are good, as everyone says. It's good to have that little bit of nerves, it means you care, but just taking the experience, have a look around you, and just enjoy it and trust yourself. You've done all the work.
My number one advice is to have that person that can get through to you on the day, either by your side or part of the crew that will bring you some cream or something that can just talk you through and get you to that start. I also suffer from nerves, but I know I just keep telling myself, just get in the water. Once I'm in the water, that goes completely. So it's instant that it's gone.
I think it's about having those things that just bring you back, just ground you and help keep you calm. So I remember one of my mentors one time, he told me the story of how he was standing behind the box at the Olympics, and in his mind, he was just standing on the beach at Margaret River, just watching the waves come in, and it was just to help bring his heart rate down and just calm him in that moment. But I think it's also really important to recognise, and something I remind myself of even now, that it's like, at the end of the day, it's just a swim race. It's like you might train for it, or spend years training for it, but it's just a swim race. Lots of those things that can happen from it.
when it comes to nerves, I think it's very natural to have them in the first place. Like Josie said, nerves show that you care about what you're going to do. I think you'd be more worrying if you weren't going in there either not caring or maybe overconfident. It shows that like this thing is real, and I'm nervous, but I'm also really excited. It's all how you respond to it. And I think, like Max was saying, having those tools that help to keep you grounded in those moments really helps. Susan mentioned having someone there that can help keep you calm. Visualization is a powerful one. Whether it's visualizing that you're down the Margaret River or visualizing the swim going really well. That's another way that you can look at it. I think that's a real solid one to utilise. For me, breath work. I like to take big deep breaths. When you're stressed and overwhelmed, what do? We take a deep breath. I think that helps. And then, like I was saying earlier on today, making sure that everything's planned and in place before you start. If you know exactly what you need to be doing and all your team are across the base plan, you don't have things to worry about. You don't have to stress if your skipper's going to be in the right place or where you're going to meet them or where you need to be at a certain time. It's all been talked about, it's all been decided, and it just allows you to be there, present in the moment and focusing on the swim ahead.
Awesome, guys. So, I'm going to jump into this one, and it's a bit of a routine leading into the swim. So, someone's asked for your morning routine going into the swim from the moment you wake up to the moment you put your toes in. If we can keep this as like man as possible, because I don't know how long your mornings are beforehand, but I know this process can be quite lengthy.
It's kind of the same every year. Get up, eat. That's probably my most hated part of the day is eating so early, but it's the most important. Kind of, your body doesn't feel like eating at 3 o'clock in the morning, but it's important to get in, even if it's just a little bit. So get up, eat, get dressed, and then head out, and then make the drive down to Cottesloe. Kind of take it all in a bit. I always go for a little walk when I get to Cot, just to take the experience. Everyone's setting everything up. Go around and chat to people. That kind of helps the nerve a bit when you're just talking to people. And then stretch, suit up, grease up, and then head down to the start.
Do you like FSC prescribe dry land warm up?
I try and in my normal everyday try and stick to a routine. And obviously on the day that we're in swim, you have to increase the amount of time and the preparation and everything a bit more, but I stick to it. Obviously your bathroom visit is an extremely important part of your day, and then having your breakfast and sticking exactly to the plan.
Yeah, same as the others, just wake up, get ready, eat, head to the beach, find a place to sit down, just like sip on Powerade or, Gatorade, sip on water, go through your dry land warm up before getting in, then race.
So my routine starts the night before or the day before, and I try to do as much in advance so that I have to do. So I only have to do as minimal or as little. I try to do as much the day before, so I don't have to do anything on the day. I'll do the minimal amount on the day. So I go and pick up my turning chip before I pack my bags and have everything laid out on my kitchen worktop so that it's just a grab and go. Everything's there. I'm comfortable. It means I can sleep a bit more the night before because I'm not having to worry about these things when I wake up the next day. Like these guys, I'll eat, I'll go to the loo, ponder life for a bit there. But everything's all ready to go, and like I was this famous plan and timetable. I've just got everything lined up. in this timeline of what I need to do and when. So, I take some gels and stuff before the swim. I have it on my timeline 45 minutes before the swim. I'll take this and this and this. So I'm just following these instructions so I'm not having to think. Not having to think about things that I might have forgotten or missed. I'm just reading it out and just executing on the day. So it's very simple. I just follow these step-by-step process. Obviously I'll chat to people and I'll watch a nice sunset and sunrise over Cotswold, but I just try and make it as easy as possible, as minimal as possible so I don't have to think. I just get there and do, in the water, and that's when you don't feel as nervous because you just did it.
Awesome. Great job, guys. Keeping going, we are cranking through these questions at record speed, which is good, but we still have 15 to go. So, get on those upsy downsies, guys. If you're on the thing, if you want your question to be heard, please interact with this app that Megan set up and give us some tips. So, top on the list. This one might go for a little bit of time. I'm assuming there'll be a story or two here, but what was your most challenging part of the crossing?
Tricky one. I think every year something kind of, there's always going to be a learning. I call them, there's a learning that happens every year. I would say my first solo was needing to pee, and that's kind of the biggest thing that's still haunted me. And through that, it's just kind of you have to relax. If you get uptight and you can't do it, then it's, the more that uptight you get, the less chance you have of peeing. I would say that would be the biggest thing is for me. But as I said, every year comes with another learning, and you learn something new for the next year. But it's back to what we've all said of just stay relaxed. Yeah.
Mine is 100% at the start. That's always the challenge for me once I'm away from nothing really business.
Every year without fail, for any major swim, the most difficult part is the first 3 strokes. 4th stroke, easiest stroke of the day, without a doubt. But it's just getting into it and just sort of getting over the fact, hey, I'm about to swim a really long distance. And we'll be in the water for a really long time. But it's just, once you get started, you just get into that rhythm, find a stroke, then you can just start to do what you train to do, which is swim, and you enjoy it, and you can just go through the motions that you train for.
I don't think there's anything that particularly stands out for me. I mean, I've been in the situation where I felt like an elephant sitting on my back, and that's never easy, but it's amazing what we're capable of. It's amazing what we're capable of, and when you have the team out there with you, and you're not going through this alone, and they're keeping you encouraged and keeping you pushing forward, you can surprise yourself. So I wouldn't say it's difficult, because we all know it's difficult, that's why it's a challenge, but how I would phrase it is we're more capable than we realise, and when those challenges arise, back yourself for them, and remember that you are capable of overcoming them.
Amazing, guys, and we keep talking about how this is a challenge, right? And I think Andy's brought it up before, this is not a solo event, it is a team event, so this brings me on to your support crew. There's a very good question here about your support crew, and it's for all of your crossings, is there a consistent support crew each time? Is there any special person that helps you out?
I'm very fortunate in this that in all of my solo crossings, to Rottnest, I've had the same skipper and kayaker. So it's a routine now. We all know what our roles are, we all know kind of, they can see when I'm starting to fail or when I'm starting to hurt, and they know little things to tell me. So I'm very fortunate in that, but that's not the same for everyone. But yeah, as Andy was going back to as well, it's making sure the crew know your timetable as well, so that your job is to just swim and their job is to fix anything that kind of comes up, or if we're going off schedule, it's their job to kind of do it. I would say that also make them know into what you want if something starts to go wrong, so that they know straight away she needs this or we need a hot thing, so that you don't have to worry about that. Your job is to just swim and they deal with everything, all external kind of stuff that goes on.
I'm very, very fortunate to have a fantastic support team that has made me big sand for the last few big swims. But when I first started, I was so great. My ignorance is this. I had absolutely no idea what I was getting into. And read up everything on the website and learned everything there. They taught people and put their hand up to help. So if you can have that consistent support, it is absolutely ideal. But if you can run through it, the number one thing for me is communication, making sure absolutely everyone on the team knows what you want, and they need to communicate to you all the time how they feel as well.
Again, I've been really, really fortunate. So, across 10 or so ultramarathon swims, I think between each one, I've normally only had like 1 or 2 crew members change, but I've been really, really fortunate in having the same paddler, which is my dad, for each of those things. So it's like, I remember going through Port to Pub, and around the 13k mark, I remember just thinking, like, what's the point? Like, why am I doing this? But I just remember sort of like going through the motions and turning and like seeing him paddling along next to me. That was just sort of, it was just sort of enough in my mind to almost just flick a switch and help me get through the rest of the swim. Again, I think, like Susan was saying, just communication. Before, we normally have a document that just outlines exactly what every single person on the crew has to do, making sure that they all know their roles, like exactly to such a high level of precision that it means on the day that I can just show up and swim, and then I know my feeds are taken care of, the course is set right, all of the safety gear, that's all taken care of, the boat will actually turn on, and it's just making sure you have those systems in place so that you can actually perform to your best.
Yeah, the team is a real important one, and in an ideal world you'd have the right people on the boat every single time. And when I say the right people, people that are there to put you first, people that are there to put you first, they're there to support you from getting from A to B on your swim. I've been in situations where that unfortunately hasn't happened. I've been on boats where my handler fell asleep for 4 hours and didn't feed me. I've been on, it wasn't Jay, don't worry.
I was going to say that it was Jay, just
no, it wasn't Jay, but I've been on boats where the guy jumped off the bank so he could take a pee, and I had to swim along by myself for a good sort of 5 minutes or something like that because he couldn't pee. And so like there's things where you gotta understand, like those people need to understand they're there to help you get from there, from A to B, and that's got to come first. And there's going to be people that might get quite overwhelmed with the situation or get frantic if things go wrong, and you might need to consider if they're the right person for the role. I've had kayakers that have been stressed out there in the water, and when you see them stressing, it's the last thing you need as a swimmer, where every single stroke you're breathing up and you just see this person worrying. Like, all these things add up. You need a team that are in your corner, are competent, confident, values aligned, they're there to support the team. In an ideal world, you find those people and you stick together for as many swims as possible. Sometimes it's not possible, but what you can control is the communication. If the team is different, you can tell them beforehand, this is how I want things to run, this is where I want the boat to sit, this is how often we're feeding, this is the plan. And hopefully they stick to that. And if they don't, then you can always communicate mid-swim. And communication is key. So, the team is one thing, but how the team communicates is another. Ideally, you do as much up front and before the swim as possible, but if things aren't going how you want them to out there in the water, you have to speak up. You have to tell them, all right, I need you to tell me every hour how we're going, or can you keep up the feeds, or can you do this, or can you make sure that the kayaker stays to my left and keeps going to the right. It's not ideal, but you have to take ownership for how the team performs, and ideally you don't have to worry about these things, but that doesn't always happen. So if things aren't correct them.
Yeah, I think it's really important for you guys to remember as swimmers is that you guys are the ones in the water doing it. You're the skipper, even though there is a skipper. You guys are the leaders of the crew, and I think you all highlighted that very well. So going into something a little bit different now, we are all very busy people up here. Josie, you're a full-time paediatric OT. Sue, your job astounds me every time I talk to you about it. I still don't know what it is. Max, full-time uni student and professional athlete, and Andy, I don't know how many times you were actually in the state last year, so that you were pretty busy. So how do you balance the marathon training and leading a very busy life at the same time?
My two is to be organised and to have a routine around you. So you soon learn kind of the supports around you. I personally would not be able to do what I do with work and swimming if it wasn't for my close friends, squad mates, coach, and especially my parents. You've got to, like I said before, in your support group, you've got to have those people in your corner, and that extends not just on the day, but throughout the whole of training. And be organised. I use my weekends to kind of get set up for the week ahead, and I make sure that I stick to my weekly routine. I'm a habitful routine, and I don't think I'd be able to do what I do without a routine or supports.
Absolutely, there's no way you can do it without having a very, very senior routine. I work full-time, and the training load is huge as you go up to different races. So my family are extremely accommodating in that way, but I make up for it. I do a lot of extra stuff to make sure everything is organised, lots and lots and lots of planning. But I also think they sometimes wonder what they would do if I was around more. I think it would probably be worse. So they've been very supportive.
Well, a word I hate to use, but I feel like it's the only word that you can use, is you have to make sacrifices, but I don't like to call them sacrifices, I like to think of them as choices. So it's the kind of thing of, for me, I've made choices to forego opportunities in my professional and academic life to pursue my swimming. So it's the kind of thing of, I've been received just like job offers in Sydney or, up on like mine sites and things like that. And I didn't want to pursue them because I wanted to be able to swim, I wanted to be able to do a sub-4-hour crossing to Rottnest. So I think once you understand that it's never going to be perfect, something's always going to have to give, no matter how big or small, you become a lot more, your ability to be able to handle those choices increases a lot. So for me, one of the big things is sort of the 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks leading into exams, I'll cut my training right down and I'll only do, morning sessions instead of, mornings and afternoons, because that means I can, in those moments, my exams are the priority, they're the ones I need to focus on. But, a few weeks leading into Rotto, I'm not worrying about anything else except that. So.
I think when it comes to a routine and making things balanced, it's about working smart. And my sort of ethos has always been hard work will get you somewhere, smart work will take you further. It's understanding your schedule, understanding your commitments, having a support team around and working with them and your coach to figure out what's the best routine for the week. So for me, I train only in the morning so that I've got the rest of the day to work and focus on other things. I've confirmed with my coach that this is my availability. Can we make this work to achieve my goals? And we work on that together so that it's not just mindlessly, or not mindlessly, but we've put thought into the process, into the training plan, so that we know that if we cover these things, we're going to set ourselves up so that we can be ready to achieve this goal if we take it on. I think the support network's a really important thing too, having that team around you for physical recovery. We talk about massage and injury prevention, doing your flexibility and whatnot, eating well, because you want to be able to recover after training sessions too. There's no point in having the godliest set ever and absolutely smashing it one day and being wrecked for the rest of the week. You know, that's not how you progress. It's being consistent about recovering so that you can continue to keep hitting this same level, and over time you increase and improve. And it's not just the physical recovery as well, but making time for your mental well-being, spiritual health, however you want to call it. That's important too. So I have my mental health toolbox of things that I go to recharge mentally as well. It could be spending time with family, going for a walk out in nature, going for a leisurely swim out in the ocean. I think it's important to have all of these things and utilise them all to give yourself the best chance of success over the long run.
How far is a leisurely swim for someone who's got world records around Manhattan Island?
200 meters. That's a splash.
Entering the splash and dash competition down there. Now guys, we're coming towards the end now, so we've got a few more questions that I'd like to hear. We've talked a lot about, and I think everyone up here is more in the quality camp rather than the quality camp, but we have had a question around mileage. So just want to get your guys, what is your biggest mileage week you guys have ever done?
I think Ryan's right. I speak for myself and a couple of others here where we used to be in that mentality of Ks, and that was the way that you get yourself to Rotto. But as we've gotten older, we have other things now that we have to prioritise as well. It's not about that, it's about the quality of it. Biggest week would have been over 80 kilometres was our average a couple of years ago. Now we know that's not manageable for anyone.
It made my job very hard trying to keep them in the water.
Yeah. So now, personally, I swim 9 times a week, averaging at about 7 kilometres. But it's different, and that's still quite big. But I've got my base, so now we work on speed and we work on technique. It's not all just swimming up and down, because at the end of the day, you've got to love it. It can't be a chore. So definitely quality over quantity is our go-to now.
Yeah, and the very important part is obviously outside of the water as well. The work we do from the hill. It's my absolute worst. I don't like gym at all, so I have to have someone telling me what to do and when to do it. But as far as kilometres go, again, the first few years I've been smashing out as many obviously nowhere near what these guys do. But I think 40 was the most I ever got. But now, nowhere, we don't go to that level, and really focusing on technique and quality, working very closely with the coach.
Well, just thinking back, in the last 2 years, the longest session I've done in training is 8Ks. So for someone that races, 10 and 20K, it's not that much. And I've only done two 8K sessions in the last 2 years. So right now I'm doing about 9, sort of 6.5, 7 kilometre sessions a week. But I think distance in a session is only one metric to measure the value of a session, because you could do, I know there's been times where we've done, we've done about nearly a 2.5K session on a Saturday morning, and I know some of the guys I compete against would probably a 13K session. But the thing is, though, they would, you know, they might have spent that entire time doing 130s per 100, but then they need to be able to race out 105s per 100. So it's the kind of thing of, you know, why only use one metric to try and evaluate the value of something so complex, you know, for a 20K race? There are so many different energy systems and, you know, reasons to train. Like, why it just doesn't really make sense. And I think it's something, if you look at in the world of sprinters, something Cam McAvoy's done really well in the last couple of years is just sort of say, hey, why, you know, as a sprinter, why do I need to be able to do 3100s best average? I need to spin for 20 seconds. You know, I can turn at the 50 and just die because, you know, I don't need to spin more than 50 meters. So I think distance is a pretty bad, well, it's a good metric. It's probably, if you really pick a single metric, it's the best one we've got. But there are so many other metrics that you can use to evaluate how good you're training at.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting topic of conversation, and you know, I've experienced different programs here in Australia, over in the UK. They all have their own approach to things. I've done 100 plus kilometre a week training sessions, and I remember I would turn up to work and feel like an absolute zombie and just sit at my desk. I can't even keep my eyes open. But I've always been about quality over quantity. Like that's been the approach for me. And you know, I got back into swimming during COVID and targeted swimming Rottnest solo off the back of zero training for a good number of years, and I was training. I was going to be racing against guys doing these 100 plus kilometre swims, and our approach was that we need to work smarter than these guys so that we can outwork them in terms of mileage. It's just not going to be A, possible, B, I'm going to get bored, and C, swimming's there to complement my life, not take over. I don't want to spend my weekends doing 7-hour swims practicing in the ocean. Like, I think there's a smarter way. And so, like what Max was saying, we worked backwards. We thought, right, this is the swim that we're training for. How can we replicate the conditions out there? How can we hold this target pace of what it was at the time was 112 per 100 metre pace? Maybe we can train a bit faster than that, but make that really easy so that, you know, we train at 108 pace so that when I fatigue, I come back and I'm swimming at 112 pace under fatigue. And we would do things like we would go to the gym beforehand to build load in the arms and in the legs before a training session to replicate, instead of swimming, you know, a 15K session beforehand, I had the same feeling in my arms and my legs, the same fatigue, so that when I turned up to my training session, we were replicating those last 5 kilometres of the swim. So doing things like that, coming at it from a different angle, you know, Ryan's been fantastic. The guys at FSC, they've helped to not just strengthen all of my muscles, but strengthen the ligaments, the supporting muscles, so that I can go faster, and that it makes it easier to hold. Like the threshold naturally goes a bit higher because I'm stronger, I'm pulling more water, I'm going quicker in the water. This is my new threshold for this amount of effort instead of down here. So, you know, I think if you have this smart approach, that's going to take you a lot further than if you're just focusing on Ks and then racking up the distance every single week.
I hate to cut you off while you're talking about me, Andy, so that's great. Thank you for that little pump up. Alright, so we have 2 minutes. Okay, so what we're going to do is one quick fire question for you guys, and then I'm going to let you guys talk about what the future may hold for you guys and stuff like that. So you can get a little bit of self-promotional time for yourselves if you'd like to take it, and let everyone know it is one of the questions in here as well, so that does make sense. But what is the best piece of advice you've ever given?
I think it's what we've said numerous times. You can only control what you can control and be proactive, not reactive.
Plan
keep moving forward.
Enjoy the journey.
Wow, that went really well. Should have done more.
So well,
That's really good. All right, guys. So what we'll do, we'll let Andy go first this time, so you know he can list his whatever he's doing in the future. So, guys, just a quick little insight into the future for you guys. People are wanting to know. It's one of the highest ranked questions in here. What do you guys got planned coming up?
So next week I'm doing the Rottnest Channel Swim as part of the team. So that's the first thing on the schedule. Then I don't actually have anything locked in just yet for this year, so which is actually quite nice. So, but for me, I think where I'm keen to take my swimming, explore these longer challenges, swims that might never have been done before, but always tying purpose in behind them, using them as platforms to support important causes, things that are close to my heart, like mental health or ocean health, swimming along with other people so that our messages can be amplified and we can really get good messages out there and hopefully grow interest in the sport as well. So I'm looking at some swims over in Europe, some in the Middle East. In October I will do another swim from Rottnest Island to Elizabeth Quay when Telethon is on. And we're looking to open up the channel section of that to teams that want to take part alongside as well. So, if you guys are interested, sign up.
So my immediate goal is swimming to Rottnest on Saturday. Then after that, don't really have anything major planned. So going into my honours year, looking at statistics for oceanography this year. So I think once I get through Rotto, that'll be my major goal for the rest of this year. Then the big swimming goal I have over the next couple of years is just to try and develop my 10K and see. I mean, to put it simply, my coach and I, we want to go sub 150 for 10K because we know if we can do that, then we'll be like bloody competitive on the world standard. So just a case of see how far we can go.
Yeah, buddy, speed!
My next big swim is the Journey to the River in Paramount, and on the 26th, so we'll do Rotto's close. And that is to finish off the Triple Crown, so hopefully that goes to
So can you just tell people what the Triple Crown is? Because it's quite a big deal.
Yeah, so that's the 25K Coten and County Shelley Beach in New South Wales, and then the Derby River, which is 34.
And am I right in saying that you are doing this all in 1 year?
No, I've already done I did my 25 and 23, but I'm already the house Shelley there, but then I also did the one down in Dunsborough, GLA, so I've come for GLA and then house Shelley, then and then my duo, not duo, so my tandem partner, Mark Stevens, is also doing at least one after the other, and I might still consider joining him for 25.
We exclusive!
I'm not doing a solo this year for Rotto, I'm doing a duo, and then I'm doing 25 to Pub 3 weeks later. And then a couple of long-term goals or swims are still pending, but I have English Channel locked on for 2026.
And it's about time. Josie, who are you doing your duo with?
With my mum.
No. Another three strength and conditioning athletes in the swim department. So, guys, that is it. We hit the time limit. So, thank you all for sitting around and having to listen to me. For anyone on the live stream, I apologise for the sound cutting out. Andy pressed the button to turn the microphone off at one stage. I forgot to turn the sound on for the start. So, luckily, I've been checking this camera and noticing that with people complaining that we could get onto that. So, sorry for any inconvenience with that. And just a big thank you to all of you guys who came down today. Now, obviously we are doing this as part of Familial Strength and Conditioning, and we are a strength and conditioning provider that only works with swimmers. We don't have any other athletes anymore. We have a few triathletes, but they tell us they're swimmers and then tell us they're doing running later. So we realistically, are hyper-focused on sport swimming. Everything that we do is directed to making sure that you guys can spend more time in the water and less time out of it and continue to do your swimming for as long as you would like to do it. So today, what I'd like to offer you guys, anyone who's here or anyone who's on the live stream, if you need help in the next week or if you need help in the week after, please contact us. We can get you assessed by an ad towards our physio for a very highly reduced rate. And then we're offering you all free performance testing afterwards to, if you have any niggles or anything like that. Okay? If you take that offer up, it's a free offer for you guys to come and be assessed by a physio. She'll give you an assessment and tell you where you're at. And if there is anything that we can work on from there on, we'll give you your first month for free. Okay? So keep that in mind. I will be sending emails out about it. I don't know if you guys know, I send a few emails out in a week. They're getting better and better as my life experiences grow. So be aware for next week's one. I've got a cracker lined up for Monday. But that's it, guys. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to leave the guys available so you can ask them whatever questions you like off camera and whatnot. So please do that now. Thanks, everybody. Oh, and thanks to these guys who actually turned up and did this for us. Does anyone know how to turn the live stream off?